Welcome to Entelechea. This is our normal Wednesday evening satsang. I'm Dr. Drrusutybarrier. This is Dr. Tricia Seymour.
Glad to have you here this evening. Tonight we're going to talk about something a little bit different.
And what is that?
Perception.
Perception?
How you see the world. And what might be healthy ways to view your life and the world and the people around you and how that works.
I think I like the perception our cat has, upside down most of the time.
Yeah, well, that's what our cat does. So that's a good point, though. So the topic really is accepting all things. And what do you mean by that? Accept all things. I don't want to accept all things.
Well, it means accepting things without judgment. It means looking at an occurrence that happens to you as just something that happens. Our egos are going to immediately want to say, okay, this is good, this is bad, this shouldn't have happened, why did this happen to me? All the normal things that this little voice up here yells at us on a regular basis. Part of awakening and part of coming to peace and finding that peace that passes understanding is being able to look at the events around you as they unfold and just go, that's what's happening.
Well, and that's about letting go of judgment. Because we all want to judge. Again, our egos want to say, that's good, that's bad, I like that, I don't like that, I like chocolate, I don't like spinach, whatever. I mean, we like to put things in categories and make it nice and simple in our lives, rather than just allow things to be and then kind of step back. And so part of what we're talking about is our observer self. And since we're both from the field of psychology, observer self is a topic that in psychology we discuss.
And the observer self is that part of you that allows you to step back from a situation, put a little distance between you and what's happening out here, and take the emotional charge that you might have on it. Ram Dass talks about the fact that one of the things that he's done throughout his life was that he began to see human beings as trees. Because if you walk out, you don't look at a tree and go, well, that tree needs more limbs over here, it's really kind of ugly over there. And why would that bird build on that? We don't do that with trees. We just look at them and go, oh, what a nice tree. But I want you to hear something. Even nice is a judgment. We're putting a value on something. We just look out there, excuse me. We just look out there and go, wow, a tree. Look at all those leaves. Look at the birds. You're not judging anything. And that's part of what accepting all as it is means. Matter of fact, you really cannot fully awaken until you're ready to let go of those type of judgments. The good, the bad, the even left, the right, left or right, sometimes there's a judgment. So
and of Course in Miracles says, one of the exercises that I know that they encourage you to do, I'm sure I won't get it quite right, but is to try to go through an entire day without making a judgment. Try to go through your whole day without making a judgment about stupid drivers or why is it so hot or why is it so cold, and just try to be just for one day and see if that makes any difference in your life. Not judging.
Yeah, I think the actual quote is, today I will judge nothing. Right, I would encourage you to try that. In the next 3 seconds, I will judge nothing. And 3 seconds later, do it again.
Including this topic, right?
Including this topic.
Okay, yeah. So, and another thing that I was just going to read here from A Course in Miracles, it says, I'm never upset for the reason I think. And so along that line, when we're thinking about judging and accepting things the way they are, part of what happens with our ego, and that's the part of us that makes these judgments, the part of us that lives here in the game of life, the part of us that maneuvers around, our ego wants to make those judgments. Our ego wants us to be upset, to get upset. So when it says, I'm never upset for the reason I think, what does that mean? What do you mean by, what does it mean by that?
I'm never upset for the reason I think, because what I'm going to think about is on the surface. Okay, I'm upset because this person cut me off in traffic.
Right.
Right? No, they didn't hit the car, they didn't do anything but maybe make me hit my brakes a little bit. There is nothing that they did to actually create that upset. If I go a little bit deeper, the next level down, we might discover, ooh, I'm upset because they caused my adrenaline to spike, which they did when they cut you off. Right? You go a little deeper, okay, what I'm really concerned about is that now I'm 2 minutes late for later for work. All right, go a little deeper. Oh, I'm really scared that if I show up late for work, I'm going to get yelled at by the boss or they'll fire me. So now you just see how you work down the layers of what is on the surface. I'm mad at that guy over there. Right? It really
that happens in relationships
all
too,
the time.
because your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, says something and you get mad. And are you really mad at what they just said, or is it triggering something else inside you from your past? More than likely, it's triggering something inside of you. And so, or even a history with that person. It's even going back to that. So, to acknowledge and understand that what is on the surface, I'm not upset for the reason I think, helps you allow, as we were saying, allow events to unfold without that judgment about them. You start looking internally instead of externally about judging others.
When you take the time to work through those different levels, basically what you're doing is you're pulling the veils off of your own vision as to what you're seeing. If I'm looking out here at you and you happen to remind me of an uncle who tickled me mercilessly when I was a child, all right, I may, for no reason of your doing anything, get irritated with you, because now I'm not seeing you as an individual, I'm seeing that uncle, right? If I realize that's the reaction I'm having.
And you probably don't know that consciously.
No, you don't know that consciously.
That's happening like unconsciously in the back of your mind. You don't even realize that's why you're acting that way. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know why I don't like them, but I don't like them.
Right. But what you also heard in that statement is I now have a filter that says I'm no longer looking at what's right in front of me. I'm looking at something that's in the past. Right? And that's one of the biggest filters that we need to drop to come into acceptance of what is right in front of us. It's, yes, we have to have things that happened in the past that kind of guide us. You know, I learned when I was a kid, don't stick your hand on a hot stove. Only had to do that twice. You know, I know I'm slow. But I don't do that now because I know that's a learning experience. However, when you were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and something happened to you, your mind was not developed enough to truly understand the bigger picture. Now, you're 27, 37, 47, 67, pick a number, you're mature enough, you're able to not react from that child state anymore, and you're able to bring yourself truly present here now and what's right in front of you. Well,
and I think that's another basic thing that people teach, and which is true, is that we really are controlled by our subconscious mind. The majority of our responses, the majority of what happens, the majority of what we believe or we think or how we judge is in our subconscious mind, which means, again, it's probably from something in the past that happened.
Right.
So what we're actually just challenging you to do today is to be present. How can I see the situation right here, right now, without the back thoughts, without the judgments, without the perceptions from my past?
And one of the things, there's a little trick that you can use to help you get present at any moment, especially when you've got a lot of emotion running. The first thing is to look around you and name 5 physical things that you currently see in your environment, right? So it could be, I see a light, I see a camera, I see a decoration, I see a step ladder, I see a person, I see a chair, those kind of things. The next one is to name 4 things that you hear currently. My voice, I'm hearing something chirping outside, you know, and so you get the point.
The air conditioner,
right?
The wind.
Then 3 things that you physically feel, not an emotion, but something you physically feel.
Like the chair,
like the chair underneath you,
yeah.
the breeze blowing across your skin, those things. So you do, and you hit all 5 senses. See, hear, feel, touch, 2 things that you can touch. You can touch your jeans, and then smell, because usually there's not that many smells in a room.
Or taste.
Or taste.
Right.
In a room at this point. Those will bring you current. They will bring you to the present moment, right? Then look at the situation again and say, now what is this really about? Now, I will give you a cautionary. If you're in a relationship with someone and there's a heated argument going on, it really is not in your best interest to go, so what's this really about? You're likely to get hit.
You might, yeah. And actually what we're trying to get to here, and the purpose of accepting things and not having judgments, is to find inner peace. And by doing these things that we're talking about, you become more peaceful inside. If we're always worried about somebody else or what they think or what's happening or what's on the news, we lose our peace because we're now externally focused. And the more internally focused we can be and calm in the present moment, like you were saying, the more peace we find every single day. So if you're not feeling peaceful, as you were saying, you're probably somewhere other than today, than this moment today.
Not right here, right now.
Right.
Right. And for most of us, we are either in the past, remembering what happened previously, or we're projecting out forward.
Right.
If this is happening now, well, this is probably going to happen next. We're really not that good, even when we're sort of psychic at predicting exactly what's going to happen 2 seconds from now, much less 2 years from now. So part of being present, part of learning to accept all things, is learning to let go of the past and let go of the future. You have no power. There is nothing you can do right now that will change one single thing that happened in your past, right? I cannot change the fact that I got hit on the head multiple times by the boom on a sailboat when I was a kid, when my dad jibed or tacked, and I went flying overboard for that.
That's what happened, huh?
I wasn't dropped as a baby. No.
That's what happened. Okay, got it.
But that's in the past, all right? If I'm now living from that point of view, I'm afraid every time I see a low-hanging something that swings, I'm going to get hit in the head by it. That doesn't serve a purpose for me.
Right. That actually can create physical pain. I mean, you can just bend a lot and jump a lot and not be peaceful.
The anxiety level goes up. When you are fully present, right here, right now, there is no anxiety. There is no regret. There is only the amazing is the word that wants to come out. So there's only the amazing point of focus that right here, right now, all is as it should be because it's the way that it is.
Even the Buddhist teachings of you can escape suffering. Pain is inevitable. We're going to stub our toe. We're going to hit our knee. We're going to have our heart broken. Pain is going to happen. Suffering, though, is when you hold on to it, when you live in the past, when you think about the what ifs, or in your case, what you just said, if you're always ducking because you're thinking you're going to get hit in the head. That turns something that happened. You have a judgment now about it, you have a memory about it, and you're now stuck in that spot, and now you have suffering.
Right.
So pain is inevitable, suffering is not. It's optional. And it's about learning how to be present, learning to have that inner peace, to be calm, to be centered. That makes a huge difference.
It does.
And part of that is also learning how to be proactive instead of reactive, which means what?
It means to actively create your, how do I put that? Actively create your environment to a certain extent. You know that if, and I'll use myself again, I'm pretty much brain dead at 8 in the morning, no matter how much sleep I've got. I just don't function at that time of day. I've jokingly said my whole life, my brain does not turn on until about 10 a.m. So I know that I don't have clients before 10 a.m. I know that I don't do anything that requires me to really think prior to that. And so that's being proactive. You're planning.
Making a choice.
You're making a choice.
And in a situation like in a relationship, which is kind of what you were talking about, if I have baggage with this person that I'm with, we've been together a long time, I know all the buttons, he knows my buttons, and if we get mad at each other or we come up against each other, I can be reactive. And reactive is over the top. Reactive is extremely emotional. Reactive is pulling from the past. It's pulling in all that old stuff. And so when you get mad or you yell or you scream, or as you said, in traffic, when you start wanting to flip somebody off or be upset, that's reactive. You're being reactive to the situation. You're being reactive to the person. Proactive is where you're making a choice, like your choice not to have clients early in the morning. You're making a choice that you sit back, you take a deep breath, you find your center, and now you sit and look at the situation from the moment, today, present, rather than bringing in all that old stuff. You're more proactive. You're proactively handling a dispute. You're proactively handling a stressor or, again, a relationship. You're not reacting out of ego or out of your past or out of self.
You're taking a deep breath and making a conscious choice of how you want to proceed rather than just a knee-jerk. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
And learning how to be proactive can give you peace. It can literally help you have more inner peace by learning to be more proactive in life. Part of what we're talking about too, of accept all things and your perception, is that one of the things that we are working towards is that inner peace. We're working towards that divine human. How do I have a human experience but come at it from a different perspective? So I know I've used it before, but imagine you're in a forest and you see all the trees, and you see the trees, and that's great. You don't even have to have any judgments about them. But now you get into a hot air balloon and you're above the trees. You see a different picture. And so by getting above, getting out of the drama, by stepping back, by taking a deep breath, by doing those things to make yourself present, you're able to see the situation from a different angle. And when you can do that, it shifts your perception of the situation. For me, driving in Dallas traffic, I'm able to not get mad at the people who cut me off. I still might go, but I don't hold it or want to have road rage. I'm not ready to go grab a gun and run them down, because I can step back and see the picture. I notice they're on their cell phone. I notice they've got kids in the car. They're talking to somebody. They didn't do it to me. They literally didn't even probably see me. And so it gives me a chance to step back and have a different perspective on a situation, rather than judging a situation as though the first thought is all that it is. I can take a beat and not judge it.
Well, and the first thought is usually, it's about me. They did that to me.
They cut me off, right? Yeah.
It's not about you.
It probably isn't about you at all.
That's part of it, is as you step back, as you begin to drop the judgments, as you begin to take a look at this and say, this is really just as it is. I don't have to have any emotional charge on this. It's about not taking things personally.
Right.
It's really not about you, right? It isn't. What is about you is how you choose to perceive the situation, right?
And that's all we have control over, is our perception of the situation and how we react or are proactive to a situation.
Correct.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
It's called life. You know, we've talked about the game of life, like a video game. There's levels. Stuff happens. You know, you didn't program the game. It just is. And it's how you work your way through the spaces and the levels.
And remember that the step back from your ego is actually into your soul. Okay? So what we're in many ways talking about is becoming present enough that you're functioning from soul, not from ego. And I know I use words that may not be entirely accurate for your understanding or other people's understanding of what it means. But for me, it still works. It's that larger part of me. For when I talk about soul or I talk about spirit, I'm talking about my essence, the part that really is always eternal, always in peace, always calm.
Right. We just lose touch with that.
Yes.
And it's not that it disappears or goes away, we just forget. We forget that that's actually who we really are, and we forget to be in that space.
And we're actually in many ways taught to forget that. All right? Do you like chocolate or do you like vanilla? Okay, do you like red, do you like blue? Would you prefer Republican or Democrat? It doesn't matter. When we're asked and constantly encouraged, you have to make a choice, you have to make a choice, you have to make a choice.
Yeah, you have to have a preference.
Right.
And again, that's the world of duality.
It is.
Where there's a right or wrong, there's a left or right, there's a good or bad, and that's the world of duality that we live in. And we're taught to make judgments, and we're encouraged to make judgments about things. Is that good or bad? Maybe both, you never know, right? And so something that might appear terrible at first, later you go, wow, that was the best thing that could have ever happened. I didn't see that at first. But again, it's that duality and dynamic.
And we have to understand our own reasons for that dynamic sometimes. You absolutely love celery with peanut butter on it.
Yep.
You put a piece of celery in my mouth, I'm going to be in the bathroom throwing up. Okay, my body just reacts to it that way. Does that mean that the celery is bad for me and good for her? No, it just means I'm allergic to celery.
It just means celery is. Celery
Right.
isn't good or bad, it just is. And it depends on what your preference is.
Yeah.
And so it's to take it out of the realm of emotionality and move it into a realm of acceptance. But it's easy for us as humans, as you said, we're kind of taught to judge. We're taught to judge that person doesn't look like me, so I don't like them. That person's not in my group, so I don't like them. That person does something different than I do, so I don't like them. Or from even our base mammalian brain, that person looks scary, so I don't like them. It might hurt me. And so we have those judgments, and often we make those judgments without any reason. They just happen. And so what we're encouraging you to do is to look at those judgments you make every single day, and instead of just having them, try to see how did you learn that? Where did that come from? Is that a beneficial judgment to survival, or is that like you're judging that person by the color of their skin, or you're judging that person by their lifestyle instead?
Right.
And that reminds me of the story that you tell about Egypt.
Well, they've heard Egypt before, but yes, Egypt was this wonderful man in Corpus Christi. He was a black man. He was homeless, though he really wasn't. A restaurant owner down the street from where the business was that I ran at the time had cleaned out his storage shed and was allowing Egypt to live in it. This man, he was probably 6'1", 6'3". You know, he dressed in all black leather, and he always carried something. If you just looked at him driving down the street, it was about this long, again, black, hooked to his hip, right? Until you got close to him, you couldn't tell that it was a squeegee. And, you know, people driving by, people walking into my center back there were always very scared of Egypt. I didn't bother with him. He was just hanging out on the street corner waiting for a bus, basically, most days. So one day I finally went out and I said, hey, you know, I just wanted to come get to know you, see if there's anything that you need, and you know, what do you do, and started talking to him. And he said, here's who I am, and he made his own clothes. That was that's why they were black leather. He hand-stitched everything for himself. Like I said, that was a squeegee on his hip, not a gun, not anything else. He went all over town cleaning windows for different businesses.
That's how he made his money.
That's how he made his money. That's how he took care of himself. So I said, sure, you want to clean windows for us? And he started cleaning our windows. But I had invited him in and said, come be a part of the center if there's anything you need, if you need blankets, food, whatever, and helped him out. That's part of just being a good human as far as I'm concerned. Well, one day Egypt, I'd given him a blanket, actually 2 or 3 blankets I had given him because it was getting very cold, and I knew that, you know, a little tin shed is not the warmest place in the world. And he came in about 2 or 3 days later. Remember what I've described. This is a man living in a tin shed, wandering around the city, cleaning windows for his living. So he came in and he goes, can you give me more blankets? And I went, well, okay, what are you, and he says, well, last night it was really cold and I saw a mother and 2 children that were homeless on the street, so I gave them the blankets you gave me. Wow. Sure, I'll get you more blankets. And this was about not judging him. Had I just driven by and seen this, what looked like a rather intimidating black man standing on the street corner, I would never have talked to him. I would never have known the light in his heart, because all I would have seen was my judgment. I would never have seen Egypt. Okay? Good man.
So the value is, we all make judgments. Acknowledge that you make judgments. Be aware of your judgments and see if you can't drop them just for today. Drop your judgments. Drop your judgments about yourself, your judgments about other people, and try to see them as the light that they are. Try to see them as the God source that they are. Try to see beyond the physical, beyond your own judgments, and see with your heart.
See with your heart.
So it's moving from your head and all those chatty noises down to your heart to see who the person really is. And by doing that, you find love. You find a connection. You find a way to help and be of service.
To be of service.
And be present in the moment.
And just remember one other little concept that you may not have thought of in a long time. If you were looking around you and saying, this isn't right, and this should be different, and that should be different, and I shouldn't be so fat, and I shouldn't be so old, and blah, 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 you are actually telling the creator of all that is that they made a mistake. Now, can you imagine actually consciously doing that? No. But that's what we each do. When we pass judgment on another human being, when we pass judgment on ourselves, when we pass judgment on the way things are working on this planet, we are telling the creator of all that is, you screwed up. Really? No. God looked at the world and said, it is good. Okay, the only one I think that could say he screwed up are she, depending on whatever you want to call God, our consciousness, our oneness, our the great Oompa Loompa in the sky. I personally have no charge on any name. But it's all perfect already. You can't say this isn't right. It is right. You just don't see how it's right.
So learning to be present, learning to let go of your judgments, finding that inner peace, that part that says, it's good. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we're talking about tonight.
Right.
So thank you very much for listening, and we hope that you have a blessed day, and again, go out and have a day of non-judgment.
And be at peace and be present.